week and another kind of totally different opponent. You've seen a top 15 team. You've seen a Savannah State team that you guys were superior to. This gets a little more maybe kind of in that peer range.
Correct.
As far as programs go. What have you seen on film that's making you say, hey, we got to make sure we're on top of this for Saturday?
The biggest thing that, obviously week in and week out, my primary objective is researching and diagnosing the offensive line. The way they play, the schemes they use, and then the talent of the guys up front. There's no doubt there's been huge improvements from last year to this year on Texas State's offensive line. I would say, we're always trying to find one guy that we could pick on somewhere across the board. They've done a great job up there. That whole line is very solid right now. Each one of those 5 up front starters are doing a great job. I don't know if it's the most improved position on the team, but in my opinion, it's got to be very close because I think they're doing a good job. They pull well, they protect well, and they've got a good scheme. They're doing some good things to put their kids in position to be successful. So there's no doubt, like you said, had some success last weekend, probably because of a differential of abilities. And this week that won't be the case. We'll have to play to our best ability on our end of the spectrum.
You noted their offensive line, and looking at the guys, assuming they've got the same guys starting this week, they're kind of young up there. They got a couple of freshmen, a couple of sophomores on that line.
Correct.
When you see guys who are relatively inexperienced like that, does that make you think, hey, I'm going to see if I can force these guys to have to make some reads or make some decisions with some of the things we're going to stunt differently up front, or maybe I'm going to test these guys and see how able they are to react to us doing some things, maybe a little differently up front?
Well, when you look at them, they've got 3 guys that have multiple starts under their belt, and then they've got 2 guys that have limited experience. You're exactly right. And, year in and year out, if you've got 3 guys with multiple starts, you've got a decent amount of experience. But no doubt, just like my guys, the guys that haven't repped it as much, they're still learning and they're still processing. So we will absolutely try. And the biggest thing is making sure that we execute, that we're using great feet and hands, and not leaving any guesswork, because I heard a long time ago, he who hesitates is lost, and a lot of times that new guy is going to have some hesitation, and that's where we've got to take advantage of having the entire defensive line back, all the starters. They can't hesitate. They've got to act decisively. They got to act quickly, and when that slight little glimmer of hesitation happens, we've got to be able to take advantage of it. We got to make sure it's not us that's hesitating in any way.
Last week, you got the benefit of having a lot of younger guys that don't get as many game reps in there. It was almost the whole second half, and you even had a lot of your backups in the first half. I noticed you were bringing in guys, even a couple of 3 levels into that depth chart. So what did you see last week that you said, man, I was really happy for these guys because they came out and really showed me something on a Saturday?
Well, one thing that we're trying to get to, and we were there last year, and we're fairly close now, we'd like to have 3 deep where we feel comfortable sending them out there and not saying, uh-oh, we got the thirds in. We'd like to be able to go 1s, 2s, and then send a 3rd unit out there and feel like, hey, we're just keeping ourselves fresh for the 4th quarter. We're not sacrificing quality of play to put this unit in there, and I think we're pretty close. Some of those guys that were playing in the first half, yes, they are 3s, but it wasn't because of the score. It was because we were able to rotate them. If you go back and actually look at Georgia, some of those guys played in the first half of Georgia too. We did have some 3s on the field in that game as well. Not as much and not as often and maybe not as early, but they did play quite a bit. And some guys like Caleb Sperlin and Tommy Dawkins and Demetrius Taylor and some of those guys are proving that the more reps they get, we should be very comfortable knowing that they're on the field and understand that the level of play won't drop off. And if it does, it'll be very, very minimal. But, yeah, then in the second half, for some of those younger guys that got to get in the game, they redshirted last year. They're scout team players for us now, and that experience will be instrumental in getting them ready for a year from now or 2 years from now, and just keeping them motivated, because when they got in there, they were very successful. We had some sacks, we had some tackles for loss, we had some big plays out of guys that won't travel this week, and that hopefully will fuel their fire to want to keep getting better so that one day they're the mainstream guy.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah,
Good to see you, man. Good luck.